and prototypes at Le Mans, and they were quicker than Ferrari, Aston Martin and Porsche. It's a next-gen Camaro that has been adapted to work at Le Mans, but if you missed it, you might be a bit confused about how this came about. NASCAR has changed a lot recently with newer, more aerodynamic cars. Centre-lock wheel nuts rather than the lug nuts that they used to run. They've even moved to more F1-looking tyres rather than the old-style, tall sidewall ones. So NASCAR teamed up with Hendrick Motorsports to take a ZL1 Camaro stock car to Le Mans, taking a £3,000 stock car with no doors, no headlights and a 5.8 litre rumbling V8 to Le Mans. And many fans were excited to see a NASCAR race at Le Mans, and many were not.
I've had a lot of drivers say, why are you doing this? What do you get out of it? Fun.
Lots of people were concerned that the car would keep up on the straights, but be a moving chicane through the corners. The Le Mans organisers even proposed waving a white flag at every marshal post the car drove past to warn other classes it was there. But they were so wrong about the 24 cars pace. They entered under the Garage 56 entry, the experimental entry that we've seen a few times before. You might remember the Delta Wing. So although the car would race at Le Mans, it would technically be in its own class. So Hendrick Motorsports and Garage 56 set to work on developing a stock car that could work at Le Mans. They had big aspirations, hoping to beat some of the GTE cars. And these are cars that have been developed for years to be incredible at Le Mans, with lots of downforce but very low drag. The standard engine restrictions that apply in NASCAR came off. So in Cup racing, the engine runs at 510 horsepower on the fast tracks and 670 horsepower everywhere else. But Hendrick Motorsports got the engine up to about 750 horsepower. Just listen to the difference compared to the other cars. They ran a Formula 1 style steering wheel with paddle shift, rather than the sequential stick shift on the stock car. The aero package was all to create as much downforce as possible without losing the NASCAR look of the car. They could have added an enormous rear wing to the car, but decided that's not the NASCAR way. So they stuck with a spoiler, but made it absolutely enormous. During the pit stops, the drivers were climbing through the windows. Oh, and the pit crew were also keeping up with the GTE teams. The team shed 220 kilograms from the car. They're getting super clever with materials. Firstly, there are a load of things that this car just doesn't need. Stock cars have special reinforced structures at the front and rear of the car, allowing them to bump draft, where one car can sit in the slipstream with less drag and it actually pushes the car in front forwards. It allows two cars to work together, and it's super common in oval racing. So they bin that, and then they swap lots of panels for carbon fibre.
I have to say, it's pretty fun to drive. it's really fun to drive. You know, I think a lot of people were scared at how slow it would be through Porsche curves.
Then, with a bit more work before qualifying, the Camaro out-qualified the entire GTE field. Jenson Button set a time of 3 minutes 47.9. A proper quick time around this circuit, with the fastest GTE setting a time of 3 minutes and 51. Now that incredible qualifying performance caused an issue. The rules of the Garage 56 entry say that they should start at the back of the pack, with the order being Hypercar, LMP2, GTE, then Garage 56. But given the pace difference, they were concerned about the carnage of the NASCAR coming through the field in the first few laps. So they let the car start between the GTEs and the LMP2s. And on the race start, the NASCAR absolutely left the GTE field, and even overtook a couple of LMP2 cars. Looking so unusual, the car was a massive fan favourite, with many fans saying you could hear the car coming for miles, with many complaining that it was the car keeping them awake through the night. But later in the race, they had their first big issue. The gearbox exploded. All that power had destroyed the gearbox entirely, with it sounding absolutely dreadful. Just listen to this. And this was the NASCAR out, because you're not allowed to swap a gearbox at Le Mans. But after asking nicely, the team actually were allowed to swap it, as they were the experimental entry. So after an hour in the garage, the car was back out there. But this problem had pushed them back to 39th overall before finishing the race. Look